It started with a message that stopped the internet cold. Something had happened outside Rihanna's home in Beverly Hills, and no one knew exactly how bad it was. Early reports mentioned gunshots, a possible security breach, frantic police activity outside the property. Within minutes, social media exploded with fear, disbelief, and thousands of desperate messages asking the same thing: is she okay? But before anyone could get a clear answer, the story had already taken on a life of its own. So what exactly happened that afternoon? Only moments before the chaos, the streets of Beverly Hills looked like any other quiet day. Luxury homes tucked behind tall hedges, guarded gates, no sign at all that anything was about to change. Then, without warning, multiple gunshots were reportedly fired in the direction of Rihanna's home. Just like that, a calm afternoon became a full-blown security situation. Calls to authorities started pouring in almost immediately. Police were dispatched and treated the situation with total seriousness because one detail was already circulating that made everything feel more urgent. Rihanna was reportedly inside the house when the shots rang out. That single detail was enough to send waves of panic across the internet. But here's where the story gets complicated. In those early moments, the information was scattered, constantly shifting and difficult to confirm. Some posts suggested the incident had been brief, others hinted it might be far more serious. Nobody outside the investigation truly knew what had happened, and yet the world was watching in real time. Police vehicles reportedly arrived quickly, securing the area and beginning the process of gathering evidence. For neighbors in that normally peaceful part of the city, the sudden presence of law enforcement was impossible to miss. And while officers worked the scene, headlines were already appearing on every major platform, each one repeating the same alarming detail: shots fired near Rihanna's home. The speed of it all was striking. Fans from completely different parts of the world began reacting almost simultaneously on X, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. Some expressed relief after hearing no injuries had been reported. Others were simply in shock that something like this could happen in a neighborhood built around privacy and protection. And then the questions started flooding in. Was this targeted? Was it random? And just how close had the danger actually come? Then came the first development that offered any kind of relief. Authorities reportedly located and detained a suspect connected to the shooting. It was a brief exhale for a world that had been holding its breath. But it didn't answer everything, not even close. Why had shots been fired near one of the most famous homes in the city? And was Rihanna's property the intended target? What made the situation feel even more personal to millions of fans was the chapter of life it interrupted. Because Rihanna today is living very differently from the woman who once dominated every stage and chart on the planet. In recent years, she has stepped back from the relentless pace of her earlier career and turned her focus toward family. She shares 3 children with her partner, A$AP Rocky, and by most accounts, building a private and stable life for them has become her top priority. At the same time, she's been quietly building an empire. Fenty Beauty became one of the most influential names in the cosmetics industry almost overnight. Savage X Fenty grew into a globally recognized brand. Through it all, Rihanna transformed from a chart-topping artist into a business leader whose reach goes far beyond music. The image she has carefully crafted in recent years is not just superstar, it's mother, entrepreneur, and someone who has chosen stability over spectacle. That's exactly why this moment felt so jarring. The idea that gunfire could erupt near the place where she's raising her family created a reaction that went deeper than celebrity gossip. For fans who have followed her journey from the stage to the boardroom to motherhood, it felt like a collision between 2 very different worlds. And the timing made it even harder to process. Because just beneath the fear and the breaking news alerts, there was another story quietly simmering, one that millions of people had been waiting years to hear. Rihanna had recently confirmed she was back in the recording studio, working on new music. The project fans have nicknamed R9 had been slowly building in anticipation, with each small hint treated like a major revelation. After nearly a decade since her last album, the idea of a comeback had become something people genuinely held on to. Instead of talking about melodies and release dates, the conversation suddenly shifted to police investigations and security concerns. One day, the world was hoping for new music. The next, those same fans were refreshing their screens, just hoping she was safe. That contrast between creative renewal and sudden chaos was impossible to ignore. Eventually, the confirmation came that brought at least some closure. Rihanna had not been injured. That news eased the immediate fear that had gripped so many people for hours, but it didn't erase the questions. How does something like this happen near the home of a global superstar, surrounded by layers of security and privacy? What were the circumstances that led to those shots being fired? And what details were still buried beneath the surface of the official investigation? Incidents like this have a way of revealing something that fame often hides. Recognition and influence come with risks that most people will never face. Even with security teams, gated properties, and carefully guarded routines, a single moment can pull everything into the spotlight in the worst possible way. And when that person is Rihanna, someone whose name alone becomes a worldwide headline, the story takes on a weight that goes far beyond one afternoon in Beverly Hills. The suspect was in custody. The danger had passed, but the mystery of what truly unfolded outside those gates still lingered. And for millions of people watching from across the world, the questions kept echoing long after the sirens had gone quiet.